English newspapers from down south, some regional languages. We've got it all covered, and that's not all. What the social media is abuzz with, your X, your Instagram, any viral video that one can talk about. You can already see from the pictures that we've got up there on the big board, Justin Trudeau's separation, the Gyanvapi verdict, clashes in Haryana, and that mass burial in Manipur is going to be our top focus. But apart from that, you know, Rahul Gandhi is getting a new image makeover. Azadpur Mandi, everybody's constantly talking about that. On the other hand, you've got another death of the cheetah in Kuno National Park. Only yesterday we were talking about how the experts had given that warning signal to the Supreme Court. And now you've got another cheetah dying on the same day. We will also talk about Chandrayaan. We'll throw up that big picture on the big screen over here, and we'll talk about where exactly is our little baby up in the sky as it heads towards the lunar orbit insertion, if I have that terminology right. So essentially we've got a lot to cover, but Ariha Shah is also something that we're going to focus on. Ariha Shah, that 2-year-old baby that is in Berlin. A 13 June Berlin court's order rejected the parents' explanation of the injury marks on the little baby's body to be accidental. So that is something we'll have to focus on. But first and foremost, whatever newspaper you pick up, ralliyan nahi rok sakte.
That is what the Supreme Court has said.
So that's exactly what the Supreme Court is saying. Of course, har bhashan record karo is what the Supreme Court says.
But tightly monitor those rallies is what the Supreme Court has said. In fact,
on the front page here, it says rioters to pay. I mean, in Nu, the embers are still being felt. In Rajasthan as well. I mean, उसकी जो लॉ है वो राजस्थान तक पहुंच चुकी है. Rioters to pay, says Manohar Lal Khattar, Chief Minister of Haryana, as the death toll rises to 166 people have been arrested. Now, Varghese, before we open this up, all right, again telling the viewers that the idea is not to throw up sensational news. It's important that we talk about just the facts here, because people are scared out there. I've been getting calls all day yesterday. Can I make it to this place? Can I go to this particular border? Is Badarpur border going to be safe? Is entering Faridabad going to be safe? Can I cross over into Ashram? I mean, these are questions. The national capital is really worried, and it's talking about what's really happening around it. People are constantly saying that 2024 election is right around the corner, and this is a clear blueprint that is now out in the open. People have stopped. You know what bothers me the most? Is that people have stopped giving it any kind of weightage. People are being killed. Hatred. People have stop giving it any kind of weightage. They think it's trivialized. Right here on the front page, there's a nice infographic. Let's throw those numbers and information at you. Several Gurgaon slums empty as families flee. Haryana police announced plan to permanently deploy a 1,000-strong India Reserve Battalion and a separate police station to investigate cow smuggling cases in Nu. Gurgaon administration refuses to permit Mahapanchayat called by VHP in Manesar, and another plan to block the Delhi-Jaipur expressway. Housekeeping and domestic helpers stop reporting to work at Gurgaon societies that are close to violence-hit areas. Several slum clusters in the area empty as many families flee. Curfew-like situation after 4 arson attacks on mosques in Palwal on Monday. 12 FIRs registered in the district particularly. Now, videos with hate speeches and threats still circulate online. Cops say it's a long process to get social media websites to take down content, and I agree that it's a long drawn process. You can't just call up Facebook, can you take this video down on Facebook? Okay, fine, we won't even check, verify, cross check, we'll just take the video down. It doesn't happen like that. There is a long drawn process, but this is a very city life perspective here in the Times of India. Again, not trying to call out who's got what perspective, just trying to decode the news here.
See, it's talking
people
about
on the
people
ground,
on the ground. This is the kind of thing, impact is
the
going
people
to be
who've
there.
left their shanties, people who've left the slums, their ordeal. Who's going to talk about their ordeal? People are talking about how housekeeping services are unavailable at these residential societies because people in near the violence hit areas, they can't come and clean your home. I mean, come on, we've got to talk about the people over there. People are facing actual problem on the ground as well. They can't go outside. Shops have been gutted. Whatever is left isn't opening anymore. Buying milk and daily essentials is a problem for all these people.
Well, this fear factor that has happened, especially after the violence, that was one thing that also bothered the administration. administration. And yesterday we had all those statements coming in from the top police
Take a
officers.
look at that, Varghese. Take a look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, people are fleeing. People are
People
leaving.
are actually moving with their belongings, whatever they can have. So yesterday the administration had made those claims, and especially the police officers did make those claims. What claims they in fact tried to say is that they have been able to bring situation under control. Of course, you had the Gurugram police officers, top cops in Gurugram going out and saying that things are as normal. There are shops that are open, there are offices that are open, people need not fear. We have brought things under control, and we are keeping a close vigil on those areas that have the potential to in fact become problematic. So this was the kind of assurance that we were given. But of course, when violence happens, it's going to be very difficult to assure a lot of people. The people who are going to get first in the crosshairs are of course from these areas where there is a potential of easy targets, and I think the shanties have been an easy target, the slum areas have been an easy target. So that is the kind of difficulty that we are actually seeing right now. So when we see the kind of fleeing that is happening, of course these are people who do not want to risk their daily lives. They're taking that risk of not reporting to work or this thing because they have to in fact move. This is the actual impact of this violence. It is the poor who get completely affected because of this violence. But then Kabir, this is you were saying 100 and how many? 166 people were
166
people were this thing. 44 FIRs were registered for attack on the yatra itself, the Jalabhishek Yatra.
Take a look at this. The Times of India has put out, quite starkly on its top anchor. It says, what went wrong? Cops were too few. Lapses were too many, and I think you were also talking to Yashwardhan Azad yesterday.
Yeah, he said the local administration has completely failed. He said that, see, this is something that has been out in the open. People knew there was something building up, and the local administration should have been completely hauled up for what they have done. He said that those who are representing the local administration...
Mayawati was right yesterday when she said from Haryana to Manipur, it's all like a burning kind of a situation. Take a look at this. These forces on the ground and the army personnel in Manipur, I mean, people are constantly saying, what's happening in the country. But take a look at this. New clashes. Despite threats swirling on social media, police deployment was thin. Weapons were not tracked. Underprepared intelligence also failed. Around 800 cops were deployed during the yatra. 800 Varghese. 800 cops. Around 5,000 for around 5,000 yatra participants. Now, new police's strength. Around 700, including home guards and SPO. 100 cops diverted for VIP duty. Now, major lapses, take a look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, major lapses. Inadequate deployment of police forces. Police deployed for yatra not equipped to deal with riots. So basically the riot gear, the helmets, the little safety equipment that they have, they were not prepared with those. The SP was not present on the ground. Police were unaware about stockpiling of arms and ammunition, which were later used by those in the procession.
They are those local gunners that had supplied them with those local pistols and guns.
Surveillance was lacking. No preemptive action, even though hate speech circulated online days ahead of the yatra.
That is the thing, no? That is the thing, that there's so much of evidence that was there, and yet nobody acted upon it. And now you have these statements coming in. For example, in the Tribune, they're saying that there will be a panel to scan the social media platforms.
Three-member panel.
Home Minister Anil said on Wednesday that the state government had formed a 3-member committee to monitor social media activities since July 21st for their possible role in no violence. All social media platforms would be thoroughly scanned for any provocative post, he added. The committee would have appropriate legal action against individual found spreading feeling of hatred or misinformation. Now, I mean, this was something that you should have kept monitoring, not after the incident has happened, right? So that is something. And now,
and this is something the Home Minister Anil Vij has said. And you know what? Before we move on, throw some more facts for the viewers. Let's quickly listen into what the Home Minister actually had to say. Let's play that bite out.
और सोशल मीडिया ने क्योंकि इस नू वाले हादसे में बहुत बड़ी भूमिका अदा की है, तो उसके लिए भी मैंने एक 3 सदस्यीय समिति बना दी जो 21 जुलाई से लेके 31 जुलाई तक और उसके आगे तक हर सोशल मीडिया को स्कैन करेगी, हर फेसबुक को, ट्विटर को और व्हाट्सएप को स्कैन करेगी। अगर कहीं पर भी किसी ने कोई उत्तेजनात्मक पोस्ट डाली होगी तो कानून के तहत उसके खिलाफ कार्रवाई की जाएगी। और इसके साथ ही मैं हरियाणा के लोगों से भी प्रार्थना करना चाहता हूं कि कोई पोस्ट मत डालिए, किसी को अंधाधुंध फॉरवर्ड मत करिए। आप ये जानिए कि हम उस पर निगाह रखे हुए हैं। हमने पहले शांति बहाल करनी है, अपने प्रदेश में शांति स्थापित करनी है, ये हमारा फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट कार्य बनता है।
शांति स्थापित करनी है, दिस इज द फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट प्रायोरिटी, बट इवन एज नू हैज रिलेंटेड अ लिटिल बिट, आग की भड़के जिसे कहते हैं ना, वो बाहर तक महसूस हो रही हैं। यू कैन फील इट इन राजस्थान, एंड मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली टेक अ लुक एट व्हाट आई एम रीडिंग हियर, इट सेज नो कर्फ्यू, बट इन पलवल it seems like one after clashes and arsons. It seems like one after clashes and arsons. So it's not a curfew, but in Palwal the situation is so grim that it seems like it's a curfew after the clashes and arson. Markets are shut, residents are staying at home, and forces are carrying out flag marches. I mean, take a look at these visuals, Varghese, the embers. I mean, how do you distinguish between the abhorrent violence that we're witnessing in Manipur and what's happening in these areas? Again, not trying to, create that sense of animosity and fear in the public. The government and the local administration is of course trying its level best. The only thing that we're miffed with and are probably questioning right now is that why were they caught napping? You've got a little blurb there on the side
this story, in fact, what I would like to see is that I'm shocked after reading this. It's been given on the 4th page of the Tribune. It has been during the riots, it's been a close shave for judge and daughter. Among the many victims who had a close shave during the July 31 new clashes was the additional chief judicial magistrate ACJM Anjali Jain, her 3-year-old daughter and a staff. Anjali Jain, whose car was set on fire, hid inside a workshop at an old bus stand to save herself. An FIR has been registered against unknown people in the complaint at Tekchand, processor server at a local court in Nu. As per the complainant, at around 1 p.m, Anjali Jain, her daughter, gunman Siaram and Tekchand had gone to SKM Medical College Nalad to get some medicines in a Volkswagen car registered.
It's right here on the bottom page here as well.
In the name of the ACGM, around 2 p.m. when they were returning, around 100 and 150 rioters attacked them near the old bus stand. Now we are talking about a judge being unsafe. You're talking about a judge being unsafe.
Mob of 100 and 150 people.
And stones hit the car rear pane, and all the 4 occupants left the car immediately and fled. They hid at a workshop where advocates rescued them. Now what is happening? You have is this the kind of free hand the rioters had when this was happening? That a judge was unsafe?
And they were getting medicines.
And they had gone to get medicines, and a judge, you see, a judge was unsafe over here, Kabir.
And Manohar Lal Khattar says those guilty will be made to pay for their losses. Let's also try and decode what the Chief Minister had to say. You would expect the Chief Minister to come out and, embalm the wounds of the people who have lost their loved ones, try to restore a sense of credibility and safety and security in the people who are living in Haryana. But what are some of the salient points that Manohar Lal Khattar did say, in fact?
See, what I'll just show that the kind of statement he had put out first. He says we'll act against hate mongers, a close vigil is being kept on social media, and strict action will be taken against those making hate speeches. Data of people spreading propaganda is also being collected, and action will be taken against them. This is about the investigation going on. Secondly, he also made statements appealing for peace, saying that it is time to keep brotherhood in place and all that. I mean, that is what we should have had. But then, in all that, you have one statement coming in which stands out. What is the statement? He says that the government might not be able to protect everyone. Now, that statement...
Wait a minute. So, it's not the government's job to protect everyone.
But, see, the fact remains...
So, the government is not even going to try. No. I understand. We're 140 crore people. We are already looking at people leaving their homes and going back. And when the Chief Minister should be coming out and giving that sense of security, restoring that sense of security in the people out there, and he's saying that it's impossible for the government to protect everyone.
I mean, I don't know why he made that statement, because at the moment he should have tried to put out a lot more when it comes to the situation on the ground. But then, Kabir, there is something within his own cabinet. There is a kind of a murmur going about why he was not able to control the situation.
That's absolutely fine.
His own alliance partner,
politics.
they came out and they said that there is something that the the government has to be looking at. And yesterday we did play out Dushyant Chautala's bite as well, the alliance partner.
He's saying that there is
and
proper backroom managing here. Yeah. This is very orchestrated. This is planned.
So all that has been the concern that we are looking at.
But I still don't understand how a chief minister can come out and say that it's impossible for a government to safeguard everybody.
But
how does that fly?
I mean, that is something that is there, and of course, I was just looking at it. There was a reaction coming in from Mamata Banerjee on this statement itself, and where it said that she did on no violence. I think it's in the Hindustan Times. I was not able to get through that particular article over here, right. But I'm just looking at the online copy. Interesting statement. It says the headline goes like this: the PTI copy only. On no violence, CM Khattar says can't protect everyone. Mamata agrees, but CM Mamata Banerjee wondered why no central teams were sent to these states where the incidents of communal violence have taken place. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee on Wednesday welcomed her Haryana counterpart and BJP leader Manohar Lal Khattar's statement that not everyone could be protected. But she said that the government should not promote casteism or communal tension.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to pay any sort of close attention to what Mamata Banerjee had to say. This is a very Haryana matter, not a West Bengal matter, and West Bengal is dealing with its own kind of violence.
It's kind of violence.
The Panchayat poll violence, we all saw how many deaths took place.
Yeah, but the fact remains is that that's where you hit the nail on the head. I'll just read that statement. Just listen to it carefully. I have seen Manohar Lal Khattar's statement. Not as a politician, but as a citizen of this country, I will appreciate his statement. I will appreciate his statement because it's a fact that the government cannot give protection to everyone.
And I understand, I agree. But you don't say that. You don't come out and tell your people. I mean, when your people need you to restore a sense of security, a sense of confidence in the government, you're coming out and saying that it's impossible for the government to do so. That, I mean, for me, as a citizen of this country, it doesn't fly with me.
I agree with certain aspects of it, because there is a practicality of a situation. See, it depends upon the ratio of the forces that you have when such things happen, and when you have a larger crowd, it's going to, of course, be very difficult to give some kind of protection. But, Kabir, let us also understand that this could have been monitored much early, because the signs of what was to come was already there on social media. Someone gave it a slip.
It's clear cut.
Yeah,
it's out in the open.
Now
clear cut lapses by the.
Now you're saying that
the local administration.
When we read the statement along with the judges, the ACJM judges' experience, I mean, it just says that something is terribly wrong. It just says that something is terribly wrong. If protection cannot be given to even a judge had to run for her life. Well,
Haryana death toll mounts. It's gone up to 6. 166 people have been arrested. The lapses, we've given you those numbers. There's an internet ban in about 4 districts, and Haryana Chief Minister says can't protect all. Well, you can make that decision for yourself. Meanwhile, let's shift our focus here. Let's change a little bit of gears. Right here on the front page, it says opposition meets the president, presses a demand for Prime Minister's statement on Manipur. So let's shift our focus to Manipur over here. There's this big news about a mass burial that's going to take place in Manipur. What's all that about?
35 victims, they would be buried in a mass burial that will be carried out and felicitated by the Tribals Forum, and because of that, tensions are quite high in Manipur, and also there is a huge alert that has been put out by the administration there to ensure that this does not become an emotional point of a place where it could, become difficult as such. So that is something that we are in fact tracking as well. This is by the Tribal Forum. I think this burial is being planned by, and
how many people did you say were going to be
35 buried? Victims of the riot is what I understand.
35 victims.
And I'll just read out some of the online articles that were there. From morning I was been tracking that, and here Manipur steps up security for mass burial.
Tribal body plans mass burial today. Manipur on high alert. The Manipur police on Wednesday sounded a high alert and stepped up security in different parts of the state after the ITLF announced that it would hold a mass burial ceremony on Thursday of the 35 people who died in the ethnic clashes. The Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, the ITLF, is an umbrella body of different tribal groups. The group said it would bury the Kuki-Zo martyrs, is what they call them, at the S. Boljang village near the Churachandpur-Bishnupur border around 11 a.m. So at 11 a.m. today, we're going to expect that particular big
also, I'll just make
mass burial.
sorry to just interrupt, but let me tell you how the situation is when we are talking about these bodies. The bodies, including that of 3 women, okay, of the 35 bodies, preserved with the help of white pumpkins, a traditional practice, and ice slabs, are currently at the Chuchandpur District Hospital. There are only 9 cold storage units in that hospital. Okay, 9 cold storage units. So this is how they are in fact preserving it. Very crude method, but that is the only option with white pumpkins.
So they're using white pumpkins
and ice slabs to preserve
the body. And this is a traditional practice.
I mean, it is doing because there is only 9
and these are 3. These are 3. The bodies of the 3 women out of the 35 bodies that are going to be buried today.
So the Indigenous Tribals Leaders Forum had earlier this week announced this mass burial on August 3rd. Now, the Kokomi, which is that influential civil society group, has said that there would be unwanted consequences if the burial took place at Torbang Bangla, government land in Methi-dominated Bishnupur district. So already there is tension mounting over this. The ITLF has said that the burial is planned as an open field in S. Bolijang village, which falls in Chuchandpur district. Now, Chuchandpur district is the epicenter of this violence, Kabir. From May 3rd onwards, we have seen the violence actually escalating from all this.
I mean, respecting the departed, isn't that what connects us with the other realm? I mean, it connects us with faith. When a company goes bankrupt, it doesn't really take pain. I mean, a company can't feel anything, right? The idea goes bankrupt. Similarly, the idea of identity, about community, about gods, these are, fictional notions. They don't necessarily feel hurt, but the human life, it takes physical damage. We're talking about 35 people. And when we're trying to respect the departed, you're hearing about there could be complications. You're hearing about don't do it here, do it there. You're hearing about more security forces that are being brought in.
In fact, when you're talking about Rapid Action Force, Central Reserve Police, Assam Rifles, and even the army has been mobilized in that particular area to avoid any untoward incident because of this mass burial that is going to happen. So it is very, and the ITLF has also given out a warning of sorts.
It says here, look at this. The ITLF should not play with the dead. There is heavy security in the area. Hope the politics of playing over the dead is not allowed by police and government. The Metis took the bodies of their relatives and performed the final rites at their own homes. Such a mass burial site will only fan tensions and not let the two communities live peacefully. So says a spokesperson of the Kokomi.
So what happens is, I think the fear is this: when you have a mass burial site like this, it could become a shrine and a reminder of the violence. All right, it becomes a reminder of the violence.
You already have the wall of remembrance.
Yes, you have the wall of remembrance that was already there, and then you have this particular mass burial site that could become an issue for both, because it becomes a remembrance site for both of them. And since it becomes a remembrance site for both of them, I think that is what is worrying, that it would create the, I was saying that it's a generational kind of a trauma that will be, spoken for generations together among the Kukis and the Metis on this particular issue. So this mass burial site could be a pointer to the Kuki community, or a historical kind
what's
of.
Your take? What's your take on this? Kokomi saying that don't do politics over the dead. On the other hand, 35 people respecting the departed, the entire emotional value over it, and you rightly pointed out, it will become sort of like a mural of sorts.
It will mural of sorts and become a historical place of sorts to remember what has happened. So it will be a community kind of a thing.
Sort of like solidifying.
It's solidifying what has happened. So now see, it's
them
like
as victims and martyrs.
Martyrs. So that is where the Kokomi is coming and saying you're playing politics rather than trying to respect the burial of the.
Isn't that right to a certain extent?
See, I see, this is a very grey area, Kabir. A very grey area to speak about when it comes to mass.
It's a challenge for the government.
It is going to be, of course, it's going to be a challenge for the administration now, but I would say for them still it is just a legal challenge that they are looking at. But here, what we should actually focus on is that it's such a grey area. You have to respect the people of the community who have died. You're looking at how this particular issue could become one of those things where the issue is about how the historicity of that event. So now that historicity of that event is what we have to in fact focus on, and because the historicity of that event is something that we are not focusing on, that could be a concern.
These visuals that we're playing, Varghese, just to tell the viewers and for your benefit as well, this is a batch of the Methi community people who have essentially come back to Mizoram, come back from Mizoram and have come into Imphal. That's what's happening over there.
Okay,
so another set of exodus. And in the Indian Express, I was reading somewhere inside. Let me just quickly take a look at that. Over 14,000 school children displaced due to violence in Manipur. 14,000 people.
There are a lot of children that are in these relief camps and they are under severe trauma as well. There have been stress busting programs that have been put up in these camps so that the children can be engaged into something. They are not sure whether they'll go back to their
Well, over 14,000 school children displaced due to violence in Manipur. This is the government's reaction to Allahabad, their statement. More than 40,000 school children have been displaced due to ethnic violence in Manipur. The Ministry of Education told the Parliament on Wednesday over 93% of these children have been admitted to the nearest possible education facility that they might have had. And that's the situation right now on the ground. So you've got a mass burial that's going to take place. People are saying there's clear politics going on, trying to play politics over the dead. On the other hand, you've got the the ITLF that is saying that these are martyrs. These are 35 martyrs, traditionally kept preserved bodies, like you pointed out, the white pumpkin and the ice slabs. But the point that you were making, that these were 3 women who were kept in a morgue that could only hold 9 bodies. Was it overburdened? And I'm sure the situation across all morgues is going to be a little problematic.
It's going to be very difficult because you're not expecting the size and scale of this kind of situation that we are looking at. So because we're not looking at the size and scale of the kind of situation that we are looking at, we are going to see these kind of traditional preserving techniques that are going to be used, and that's why they've been pushing for the mass burial as immediately as possible. But as to the earlier question that we were talking about, we are looking at probably that mass burial site become a historical memory for the community, the Kuki community, and probably talking about what has happened during this violence here. So that is the concern that is being raised, whether there is politics being carried out on the bodies of the dead or not. But the fact remains, I told you it was a grey area. So being a grey area, it is very evident that of course the one community will remember its people when it comes to events like this, and the other will find it very difficult to see through it. What they claim is that they have not played politics with the dead, is what the Metis in fact would claim. But the Cookies would say that they need to give an honorable kind of an approach to those who have died in this violence, and their generation coming up should also know about what has happened. So this is where the issue will become a tinderbox, and the government will be in a very difficult position to navigate through this particular issue.
Now, taking a look at the politics that's happening in the center over Manipur, the opposition met the president, right?
Yesterday.
Prime Minister must address the Parliament on Manipur. They submitted memorandum seeking roadmap for peace, even as 14,000 school kids are hit. As many as the right number is 14,763 school kids that have been displaced in Manipur. People constantly trickling down from other places into Imphal. Metis coming back into Imphal. The Mizo cookies stepping out. So many of them that have been displaced. Nodal officers of relief camps to facilitate admissions of these kids. In the Parliament, the opposition's pressure, do you think it's going to reap any benefits from the opposition's perspective when they're demanding the Prime Minister's statement? Prahlad Joshi, he said that, you're not letting us talk about Manipur. You want, for your own egoistic purposes, for your own political gains, you want the Prime Minister to come and speak here first, and for that you are trying to curtail a discussion on Manipur.
Well, that is again going to be quite contentious, because the fact remains is that the opposition demand has been for the Prime Minister to make a statement on Manipur, while the NDA government has been saying that they would have a discussion on Manipur. It's not a requirement for the Prime Minister to come and make a statement on that. So that is the contention that has been there, and they would be fighting on it. Also, one interesting thing, a development that has happened in Manipur is this. The United Naga Council asked the state government to start update of NRC in Manipur. Why they are asking it? This is the reason. The influx of people from Myanmar will create a serious democratic crisis. NRC is the only feasible mechanism to curb the unwarranted population, says the apex body of Nagas, as it slams the center for its policy of encouraging inflow of people. So that is another development that has happened from the Naga Council on this.
Well, all right, we'll have to keep our ears and eyes on the ground. We've been getting you the good, the bad, the ugly, trying to focus on the good as much as possible. When we're trying to bring reports out of Manipur, we've stationed our people down on the ground, and our rolling coverage happens during the day, and we will bring you the actual and true stories that have come to light. Let's shift our focus here real quick. There's something going to happen in Gyanvapi. The Gyanvapi verdict is going to come out of the Allahabad High Court. But before that, just showing a little picture on the top, front page, the Tribune. I think it has a better grip on Punjab and Himachal Pradesh when it comes to journalism per se. A 4-lane Shimla highway turns into a complete pathway. Stuck commuters cross a stretch of the highway that caved in following a landslide at Chakki Mode between Dharampur and Parvanu in Solan district. Take a look at this visual. It's a 4-lane highway right here on the, on the top left of the newspaper. If you've got a Tribune subscription, then you can take a look at this. The picture on the top left, take a look at that. The amount of people over there. This is a 4-lane expressway that is now turned into complete rubble. It's a pathway per se. Well, Gyanvapi, Varghese, what do you have to say on that? Yogi Adityanath has come out. He said that there is a Trishul inside. So why are you even talking about it?
The walls are.
On the other hand, the Muslim, mosque Intizamiya committee, the Muslim side, it's trying to delay and postpone the legal battle as much as it can. It's saying it's not right what the Hindu side is doing.
See,
but what my concern here is that, take a look at this beautiful picture. You've got Gyanvapi that is right adjacent to the Kashi Vishwanath. Two, prime temples, places of worship right next to each other. If somebody clicked a picture, that would be a picture of India, the confluence of religions, diversity. We talk about unity and diversity, don't we, all the time? Why do you want to break down another mosque?
Kabir, you and I subscribe to an idea that India's culture is composite and syncretic, in the sense that every manner in which, if we look at our historicity also, we think about certain aspects of our historical structures, or in this case, places of worship, having that kind of a co-influence of cultures, ideas, thoughts, and even to an extent theology. But unfortunately, some historical aspects are there that have to be considered as well. And one thing is that, see, if it is to dig to the past, I don't think so any one of us is going to have any kind of justification for what has happened there. So the idea is that from 1947 onwards, we've decided to become a country junking our past, which is of negativity, and moving with a past that is of positivity. So we take from the positive aspects of our past, and we've been moving, and we've been talking about how a composite syncretic culture has been created in this country. And that syncretic culture, what we are talking about, well, it is coming under dispute in many places, and this place is another area where we are talking about the syncretic culture coming under target. But however, this ASI this ASI survey was ordered by the Varanasi court, and after that, the entire thing went to the Allahabad court. Now, there is another aspect to this. The 1991 worships.
Take a look at that. Kashi Vishwanath, Gyanvapi Mosque. Both go this way. It's not like the other arrow is pointing towards the other side. They're both pointing towards the same side. And these beautiful pictures about the Kashi Vishwanath and the renovation that it has undergone, it is Prime Minister's home turf when you come to electoral politics, and you've got the Kashi Vishwanath right behind it. I mean, is there a beautiful imagery more than that? But you're right. I mean, people are open to, well, look at their own perspective and approach the situation their own little way.
Historically, we have to be mature enough to understand our history, but unfortunately, historicity cannot be used, right now to create that wedge between communities, because historically speaking, there are a lot of wrongs that have happened from left to right, from every community to the other. So if we start digging that, it is going to be problematic. But anyway, we're not going to that historical part of it, because sitting with this story on the Gyanvapi mosque, I think
the verdict is going to come.
The verdict is going to come. Of course, we believe, trust in our courts, and the courts have their own wisdom of going with it. But then a crucial
will the survey be carried on or not? That's going to be the big question.
But then there is one big question. The 1991
Places
of Worship Act says that then it was, of course, giving an exemption
when
to
on that particular date, whatever was existing, it
1947,
it will continue to exist that particular way.
Exception, of course, given to the Ayodhya structure.
I was looking at Asaduddin Owaisi. He said there are so many places where Jain places of worship were there, and now you've built temples over there. Will you start digging up every possible place?
That's what I said. If you go by,
then we'll just be a country of ruins.
So that is why I said, when you go by historic negativity, we will be on a dividing. But if you go by historic positivity, you would see that there is a lot that unites us than what divides.
All right, Varghese, we're running out of time. We need to cover a lot of other stuff as well. Let's quickly play out just a single reaction from the Hindu side's advocate. Let's quickly listen in, and that's another concern that I have, that it has become a Hindu side and a Muslim side. There's no advocate, lawyer, this, that. It's like Hindu side petition, Muslim side petitioner, Muslim side lawyer, Hindu side lawyer. Hindu side lawyer की एक बाइट है. Let's listen into that.
पक्षकार होने के नाते इस केस में और पक्षकार का वकील होने के नाते मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि ऑनरेबल इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट को हम सेटिस्फाई कर पाए हैं, और एएसआई सर्वे का जो ऑर्डर ऑनरेबल डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट वाराणसी ने 21 जुलाई 2023 को दिया था, उसको ऑनरेबल इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट बरकरार रखेगी, मेंटेन रखेगी। जो अंजुमन इंतजामिया था, उनका मेजर ऑब्जेक्शन यही था कि एएसआई के सर्वे से स्ट्रक्चर डैमेज हो सकता है, जिसपे एएसआई ने ये एफिडेविट दिया कि बिना डैमेज किए हुए पूरी कार्रवाई की जाएगी। उनका ये कहना था कि इस स्टेज पे सर्वे नहीं किया जा सकता, जिसके लिए हमने 10 जजमेंट का हवाला दिया कि ये सर्वे किसी भी स्टेज पे हो सकता है। तो मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि हम अपनी बात कोर्ट को कम्युनिकेट कर पाएँ, सेटिस्फाई कर पाएँ। बाकी लेट्स सी व्हाट कम्स टुमारो।
One interesting news peg that we must talk about as well, because we don't get to hear these stories every now and then, and this is something that I was, I crossed when I was perusing through the internet yesterday. The Ariha Shah case, opposition is stepping up pressure on the government as parents pursue an appeal. Now the parents are demanding that Ariha Shah, their daughter, basically come back, be given back to India, to be brought back to India to be raised in her own country. A June 13 Berlin court's order rejected the parents' explanation of the injury marks on this 2-year-old daughter to be that of an accident, which is why for the last 2 years, this daughter, you take a look at that, that's the mother with her appeal in the parliament. So she was right there in the parliament, spoke to the parliamentarians. Jaya Bachchan was there. For a change, Jaya Bachchan was a little vocal, and Dara Shah, whose baby girl Ariha Shah has been living in a foster care in Berlin for over 20 months, Varghese. And I mean, being a parent to a girl child, you know exactly, how troublesome that can be. She spoke with the media in presence of Shiv Sena, UBT factions MP Priyanka Chaturvedi, Samajwadi Party MP Jaya Bachchan, JMM MP Maua Maji, and Congress MP Jyoti Mani at the Parliament House on the 2nd of August. This happened yesterday. We've got a reaction, I believe. Let's quickly play that out.
शाह को जर्मन गवर्नमेंट ने या वहाँ की संस्था ने, जो संस्था है, उन्होंने उसको अपने कब्जे में कर लिया है। 2 साल हो गए हैं, वापस नहीं कर रहे हैं। ये हमारे पास आई विद द हेल्प ऑफ एन एनजीओ टू सीक हेल्प फ्रॉम पार्लियामेंटेरियंस। अभी कैसे बताएं, ये लगातार जो है एक कल्चरल डिफरेंसेस की वजह से उन्होंने बहुत ही ज्यादा सख्त स्टैंड लिया हुआ है। हम उसके खिलाफ बोलना चाहते हैं, रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं। एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर को भी करेंगे, जर्मन एम्बेसी के लोगों को भी करेंगे। हम ये चाहते हैं कि वो हिंदुस्तान की बेटी है, उसको अपने देश में भेज देना चाहिए। गुजरात में एक संस्था है जहां जो फॉस्टर पेरेंट्स बच्चों को अपने पास रखते हैं, जिस तरह से बच्चों को विदेश से लिया जाता है, जो बच्चों को गलती से वहां की सरकार ने रोक लिया है, तो वो हाउस भी आइडेंटिफाई हो चुका है, वो गुजरात में है। और हम रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं सरकार से कि उस बच्ची को पूरी ताकत लगाकर देश में वापस लाएं और वो फॉस्टर होम में रखें, और उसके बाद जो भी जजमेंट उसके ऊपर देना है वो हिंदुस्तान की सरकार करे, जर्मनी की सरकार नहीं।
Well, Kabir, I was just listening to that, and one small thing what is happening is diplomatic options that they are looking at. While earlier demands had only been restoration of Ariha to her family, diplomats and officials have been looking at other possible ways of resolving the issue. The present option being pursued is to work through Germany's legal system of appeals, furnishing counters to all the claims against the parents. So they are looking at the legal system right now. Probably they are also having back channel talks with German authorities on this.
There is a cultural difference at play, of course, and legalities will have to be looked at. The Norway case, you remember?
Yes.
Some similarities that one can draw from there as well. But more importantly, let's just hope that the External Affairs Minister and the German Embassy are able to put the right kind of pressure on that Berlin court, and we get Ariha Shah back where she belongs, actually, as soon
with
as
the
possible.
parents.
Yesterday, a batch of petitions were heard and taken up in the Supreme Court, Varghese, against the abrogation of Article 370 after 4 years of the abrogation. Now, there are a lot of other cases pending. People are saying that why sudden urgency of taking up abrogation of Article 370? What is it with this Constitution bench? Because the Constitution bench was, of course, mind you, the senior most top judges. They are holding their own courtrooms as well. So another 600, 500 cases per day are already taking the back seat. Again, it is going to be heard because Tuesday, Wednesdays and Thursdays has been designated as the time to
when this will be heard on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Now, yesterday, the prime hypothesis, for the views out there, and if you've missed out on that as well, because, well, I had to go through that 1 hour hearing, 1 hour, 30-minute odd hearing. Kapil Sibal says that the Parliament cannot abrogate Article 370.
Why?
Clause 3 of Article 370 requires the President to abrogate the Article 370 in concurrence with the state's Constituent Assembly.
So the
state Constituent Assembly doesn't exist. So how did the Parliament decide for whom? How are you coming out in the open and saying that you are here, you are the voice of the people, you are here for the will of the people? The Governor General, the Parliament, that's the hypothesis. Now, the Chief Justice of India somewhere saying that, this hypothesis is a little, it's a little sketchy. Also, if something like this were to be taken up, there are so many other princely states and history and
that will be a problem.
Accession that will become
so you'll be
problem
opening a can
again.
of worms, basically.
Now, the center stand essentially is that no matter what happens, it was temporary.
Yeah, the provision was
the
it was
provision
a stopgap
was
arrangement, is what they have
the
said.
provision was temporary, but the Kapil Sibal and team and they essentially said that it's not temporary. When the Constituent Assembly ceased to exist, it became permanent and it ended right then and there. So what you do about it, you do it in another way, but the way you did it then is actually not right. So we will again, of course, have to wait and hold on, because the hearing on Article 370 is going to continue today as well. Shifting our focus just a little bit more. Wow, what a great picture. We were just talking about the Parliament. There's a picture here. It says Lawn Sabha, not Lok Sabha. It says Lawn Sabha. Opposition MPs including Shiv Sena leader Sanjay Raut, SPs Jaya Bachchan, Dimple Yadav joined Sanjay Singh in protest against Aam Aadmi MP's suspension. Like I said, it seems like Sanjay Singh is not going to let go of the parliamentary premises anytime soon. But right here on the front page, it says another female cheetah dies at Kuno, which is the 9th death since March.
It's
so
a female cheetah that has
you've got some 24 odd cheetahs in totality from South Africa and
So
Namibia.
now 9 have
Nine have passed away. And only yesterday we were talking about how the experts from Namibia and South Africa have said that
They are in the
these
dark.
deaths could have been avoided,
And
but
they
they've been
were
kept
saying
in
that
the dark.
See, these cheetahs come from an environment which these people are familiar with. They have dealt with these cheetahs. They know their behavioral instincts and other things. So they have been saying is that, they have written it to the Supreme Court also, that they have been kept in the dark and probably these deaths could have been avoided. Remember that radio collar issue also that was raised, and
The
how that
infestation, the
infection could have been.
infection.
So suddenly there was this talk saying that radio collars could not be the reason or might be the reason, but all the radio collars were removed, from that place. So that is the interesting part of it, Kabir, that the fact remains is that how is this monitoring happening? Who are the experts who are suggesting when this population of cheetahs that are there in Kuno, who are giving that subject matter advice in this? I think these are also factors that we need to weigh in because these people, the foreign experts have been saying that they are completely in the dark and they don't know what is happening, what is the managing of this thing going on. So that is a cause of concern that has been raised by them.
Well, absolutely. We'll have to wait and watch as to how the Supreme Court intervenes in this, because Project Cheetah, I mean, I'm all game for the game which got extinct, to be brought back to life in our country, and Project Cheetah, it seems like is a little it's a little brainchild, a little baby of the Prime Minister as well. So you'd want it to succeed as well. But we'll have to wait and find out. 9th death since March is actually a starking, figure. We'll have to wait and find out as to how the Supreme Court reacts on that front. Chandrayaan, our little baby in the sky, and I say it because
a big ambition in the sky, in space.
I really care about it. India's moon mission. Can we throw that big picture, on the big screen over here, and really try and talk about where it is headed? It is looking towards the lunar orbit insertion now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Essentially. So
basically
we were looking at the translunar injection,
and
now we're
now
looking at the
we're
lunar orbit insertion.
What it means is that, like, for example, I mean, it's a very crude example, but if this phone is the, the mission, it has been slingshot, it was around the earth, has been slingshot, it's on its course to the moon, and as it's going to the moon, what happens is that we are probably seeing it trying to enter the gravity of the moon. So if the gravity of the moon, they are trying to ensure that the probe gets captured within the gravity of the moon, and later, through certain maneuverings, they'll try to ensure that it has a circular orbit around the moon. So that is what they are trying to, in fact, look at. So clearly, right now, it is a series of, gentle maneuvers that have to be carried out so that the lunar probe is on a 100-kilometer circular orbit around the moon, after which August 28th, that big day when we are expecting the rover to land on the moon and probably put a feather in ISRO's cap. A lot of coordination, a lot of scientific instruments in place to actually find out what those findings regarding water molecules on the surface of the moon would in fact throw up. So these aspects as well, Kabir.
There you have it, Varghese. Is that what you're talking about?
This is what I'm talking about. In fact, I'll just try to in fact focus on that aspect as well. See, I was talking about the slingshot that we were looking at, and you did see that the slingshot from there, the blue line is actually the lunar injection that we are looking at, and then it goes straight into the gravity of the moon, and then you go through, have a circular orbit. But before that happens, of course, you have this elliptical orbit that is there. So clearly this in fact,
I'm so excited, Varghese. I can't stop, thinking about it. Just like last time around, I was bothering you in the night, talking about it's going to reach, and then finally I fell asleep and woke up to some really sordid and sad news. Let's just hope this time around we're able to, make that successful landing, I'm reiterating again, become only the 4th nation in the world to successfully soft land on the dark side of the moon. Shifting our focus real quick here, Varghese. Thanks for that scientific explanation, our in-house NASA scientist.
You've been making fun of me on this a lot.
I'm not making fun of you. I'm really not making fun of you. You are our philanthropist, philosopher, and our scientist as well. But are you a relationship, expert as well? Because Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Sophie separate after 18 years of marriage. You know, yesterday, having a quick conversation about this when the news broke, I was having dinner with my family, and the young one in my family says, who would be dumb enough and fool enough to leave the Canadian Prime Minister? Why would you leave the Canadian Prime Minister?
I mean,
I mean, you got to give it to the guy. He doesn't look bad. He doesn't look half as bad. So, what's really the problem here? Let's quickly give it a shot. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his wife said on Wednesday that they were separating in an unexpected announcement that appeared to mark the end of the couple's 18-year high-profile marriage. It is certainly been high-profile. Trudeau, 51 years old, and Sophie Gregory Trudeau, 48 years old, were married in late May 2005. They have 3 children, the eldest of whom is 15 years old. Trudeau was only 43 when he became the Prime Minister in late 2015, and the sharply dressed couple quickly captured the attention of the world media, and certainly did. In the early years after Trudeau took office, he and Sophie were often seen together at functions and on foreign trips. But in recent years, Sophie has curtailed joint appearances with her husband. Sophie and I would like to share the fact that after many meaningful and difficult conversations, we have made the decision to separate, Trudeau said on Instagram. Sophie posted an almost identical message on her Instagram account as well. Now, Trudeau's office said that Trudeau had signed a legal agreement over the same. Justin Trudeau, 51 years old, Canadian Prime Minister for the longest time now.
This is the second.
Good-looking man. And you know,
also one small
Gregory Trudeau over there as well.
This is the second time that in office a Canadian Prime Minister is announcing his separation from his wife. Do you know who was the first one?
No, not at all.
His father.
Wow.
Okay, so that is a small historical
legacy pressure on Justin Trudeau.
No, I mean it's just I mean just giving you that historical tidbit in that. So it was his father who first announced the separation in being in office, a Prime Minister in office who announced the separation. And you know, the Trudeaus have captured in imagination as well, and also have been trolled very badly, especially when their India visit. They had this doing of Indian.
But hey, I don't want to make this into a lighter conversation, because you never know what kind of problem the couple must be going through. Right before we wrap up, let's just throw those visuals if we've got them. I'll just cross-check with my post-control room. Beijing has recorded some record rainfall. 144-year-old rainfall.
Record.
We do have them. We do have them. Take a look at that. Oh my goodness.
Now, we always been talking about climate change
and the extreme weather events.
It's just happening across the world. I mean, Beijing has 140-year-old, if my memory is right, is the record that they have been able to break right now. And this is the kind of flooding that you're seeing, in the urban flooding that you're seeing. So it's not only in India that you see urban flooding happening. You have it in countries like in China as well. And Beijing,
seems like
capital.
China's own ITO, own Mandi house. What we saw here in the national capital. I mean, so much that we saw in Delhi, so much that we saw in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, so much that we saw in terms of wildfires in Europe and Spain very recently. Pakistan floods the last time around, they were horrible, but this is amazing. You know what is that?
This is the garbage.
This is waste and garbage.
The garbage that has accumulated in Beijing area after the when the flooding has started.
Gentlemen,
this is the kind
this is what humans are capable of.
Plastic.
Take a look at that. This is our plastic consumption. This is what humans are capable of. And I mean, is this the Chinese dream that people already talk about? Yesterday, I was reading a portion of the Global Times from Beijing that said that people who are going to be closer to Chinese companies in the next quarter are going to do really well economically. But what are you going to do on terms of sustainable development? Take a look at that. Record rainfall, and this is what you get: submerged streets, drones, helicopters. Proper surveillance
and a lot of plastic.
The death toll is something that we've not reached at yet, because you have to tread carefully in terms of information out of China. But take a look at that.
And a lot of
aerial view tells you exactly the spate of destruction. 144-year-old record.
In fact, a lot of roads have been washed away.
Relief material being thrown in. Take a look at that. Relief material that is being deployed. Wow, so many people that must be stuck there on the ground.
And this is the capital, by the way.
This is the capital, Beijing. Maybe that's why you have these kind of facilities where you don't have to necessarily wait. You've got quick deployment of relief material.
It's going to be
on the other hand, Varghese, whilst this is happening in Beijing, You know what's going to happen in Hyderabad today? Ladies and gentlemen, you know what they say, wherever you go, the shadow always follows. Well, today in Hyderabad, there is going to be no shadow apparently. The sun is going to be right on the top. Have you seen that Sun Feast ad where the sun is like sucking the glucose right out of your head from a straw? I think that's exactly what's going to happen in Hyderabad. Why do you think it's happening only in Hyderabad and not other places? What is that phenomenon like? I mean, you've been to Hyderabad so many times. You worked there.
I mean, see, in Hyderabad...
How hot does it get over there usually? And really quickly, because we really have to wrap
See,
it
it
up.
is April and May is when it's very hot. But today what happens is, when it's a zero shadow day, the phenomenon occurs when the sun's declination becomes equal to the latitude of that location, which is to say that there is no chance for a shadow to form at all.
If you're...
I'm sorry to say that because there is no other way to define that. So I have to look at those big words and then give it to you.
That's all right.
Basically to say you can't see your shadow.
Do not step out today. But I'm sure Instagrammers and influencers will step out, try to click a picture.
No, it's basically it's just that your shadow won't be there. You won't be able to see.
So sundials are essentially not going to work.
No.
Sundials are not going to work in Hyderabad. That's all the time we have for you. We've extended our stay over here. Many thanks for joining us in the comment section. We're going to keep bringing you all the updates throughout the day. Thanks for watching News Live.
He thought he could outlast us. And 1 year later, the evidence is right here in this room.
Who will blink first?
So far from preventing the expansion of NATO, Russian actions have actually resulted in the expansion of NATO.